गुड मॉर्निंग फ्रेंड्स। हम शुरू करेंगे डिजीजेज ऑफ मायोकार्डियम। पहला आता है मायोकार्डाइटिस। इट इज़ द इन्फ्लेमेशन ऑफ मायोकार्डियम। इसके क्या हो सकता है? इन्फेक्शियस कॉज हो सकता है, टॉक्सिक हो सकता है और ऑटोइम्यून होता है। मोस्ट ऑफ द कॉमन कॉज क्या होता है? वायरल इन्फेक्शन, जैसा जस्ट लाइक कॉक्सैकी एंड इन्फ्लुएंजा ए एंड बी। ठीक है, आपको पहले वायरल इन्फेक्शन होगा, उसके सिम्टम्स आएंगे और सेवरल वीक्स लेटर आपको मायोकार्डाइटिस हो जाएगा। अब इसके रिस्क फैक्टर्स क्या है? अगर कोई भी इम्यूनोसप्रेसेंट पे है, ग्लूकोकॉर्टिकॉइड ट्रीटमेंट पे है, रेडिएशन पे है, या फिर उसका हार्ट पहले से ही डैमेज्ड है, एंड एक्सरसाइज, ये सारे के सारे इसके रिस्क फैक्टर्स हैं। ये सम ऑफ द कॉजेज हैं मायोकार्डाइटिस के। फिर हम आते हैं इसके क्लिनिकल फीचर्स में। तो क्लिनिकल फीचर्स में क्या है कि मायोकार्डाइटिस इज अ सेल्फ लिमिटिंग डिजीज इन मोस्ट ऑफ द पेशेंट्स। प्रोग्नोसिस इज वेरी गुड। ठीक है, अब मायोकार्डाइटिस क्या होता है? कैन बी रिपोर्टेड एज अ कॉज ऑफ सडन एंड अनएक्सपेक्टेड डेथ इन एथलीट्स। मोस्ट कॉमन कॉज क्या होता है डेथ एंड अनएक्सपेक्टेड एंड सडन डेथ इन एथलीट्स? वो होता है आपका कार्डियोमायोपैथी। पर मायोकार्डाइटिस भी ये करा सकता है। ठीक है, देन वी हैव मैनेजमेंट। तो इसका जो मैनेजमेंट है वो प्राइमरी सपोर्टिव है। ट्रीटमेंट पे मतलब अगर उसके कॉम्प्लिकेशन हार्ट फेलियर, एरिथमिया हो रहा है तो उसके लिए हम दवाई दे सकते हैं, पर मोस्टली इट इज सपोर्टिव ट्रीटमेंट, क्योंकि खुद ब खुद ठीक हो जाता है। एंड वेन एवर पॉसिबल एडवाइज द पेशेंट टू नॉट डू एनी फिजिकल एक्सरसाइज, क्योंकि हमने पढ़ा ना कि एक्सरसाइज इज अ रिस्क फैक्टर टू प्रेसिपिटेट मायोकार्डाइटिस। ठीक है, फिजिकल एक्सरसाइज से क्या होगा? फेटल वेंट्रिकुलर अरेथमियाज होंगे, तो इंटेंस फिजिकल एक्सर्शन नहीं करना है। देन वी कम टू द कार्डियोमायोपैथी। ये होता है प्राइमरी डिजीज ऑफ द मायोकार्डियम। ठीक है, इट कैन बी इनहेरिटेड, कॉज्ड बाय इन्फेक्शन या एक्सपोजर टू द टॉक्सिन्स। अब आप ये डायग्राम दे सकते हैं। दीज आर ऑल द myocarditis, cardiomyopathy types. A is a normal heart. Now see in the B. In the B you can see that there is hypertrophy of the muscle, and it is particularly in the septum and the anterior part of the septum, mitral valve. Then the C part is a hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Okay, it is also a hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, but all the valves and septums are involved. Okay, then D is again also a hypertrophy, but in this the only apex is now hypertrophied. Then we have dilated cardiomyopathy in the E. You can see the thickness of the wall has reduced and the area of the chamber has increased. Then we have F. It is arrhythmogenic right ventricular cardiomyopathy. We'll read it later on, not that important. Then G is your obliterative cardiomyopathy and H is your restrictive cardiomyopathy. First you come to the dilated cardiomyopathy. Most men are actually affected than women, matlab twice the women. Cardiomyopathy is characterized by dilation and impairment of the contraction of left ventricle. So what happens is that when left ventricle has to pump the blood against a very high afterload, it becomes hypertrophied, and when it the capacity to compensate goes beyond this hypertrophy, then the walls will become weak, they will dilate, okay, and the wall thickness will decrease, and now the heart cannot contract properly. And what happens is कि whenever there is dilatation, the walls are attached to the valve ring, so that the walls will also retract backwards, and that can lead to mitral and tricuspid incompetence. Alcohol can also precipitate. It is an autosomal dominant character in 25% of the patients, and which proteins can be affected? Dystrophin and lamin A. So you know about a disease called as Becker and Duchenne muscular dystrophy. In this also we find cardiomyopathy. And we already discussed कि viral myocarditis is thought to be a very मतलब कि person who gets viral myocarditis can have late autoimmune reaction that can also lead to a dilated cardiomyopathy. Mostly the patients are asymptomatic and they only present during routine investigations. Okay, what can be the complications? Arrhythmia, thromboembolism and sudden death. So, and sporadic chest pain can occur. Then investigations is echocardiography and cardiac MR, but ECG is not specific. Then we come to the management. Control heart failure. Okay, so if someone is having severe heart failure or is at risk of severe sudden arrhythmic death, Then we will give him rigorous therapy, beta blockers and ACE inhibitors. Then we have hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. It is the most common form of cardiomyopathy. It is characterized by inappropriate and elaborate ventricular hypertrophy. Now the ventricles have hypertrophy and such that it can be either in series or in parallel. So now the thickness of the ventricles will increase. It will be inappropriate and it will be misaligned, malaligned. So alignment of the vessels are not of the muscles is not organized anymore. Now this hypertrophy can be generalized or it can be confined to a small part. We already saw above, we have septal hypertrophy. Then we come to the pathogenesis. It is also autodominant condition, and in this we can have mutations. So we can have beta myosin heavy chain mutation, troponin mutation, myosin binding protein mutation. Okay, so in this, now what happens is hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, that the heart failure may develop, okay, because of stiff non compliant ventricles. Now ventricles cannot fill properly, they are hypertrophic, so they won't be able to stretch as much as they would earlier. Okay, now septal hypertrophy, if the hypertrophy has spread to the septum, now the left ventricle has to generate even more pressure to pump the blood through the septum, through the valve. Okay, so this is specially known as hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy, because there is obstruction also. Now there was hypertrophy of the valves also, but now the valves, and now there's also hypertrophy of septum and the associated valves. Okay, then what happens is कि most commonly there's mitral regurgitation in these patients. And why? Because the anterior mitral valve leaflet, mitral valve has two leaflets, anterior, posterior. So anterior mitral valve leaflet will have an abnormal anterior movement. Whenever there will be systole, there will be anterior movement of the valve, and the mitral valve will open. It won't close as much as it should, and that can lead to mitral regurgitation. Okay, then effort like symptoms are present: angina, breathlessness, arrhythmia, sudden death, and this is a dominant clinical presentation. Symptoms and signs are similar to those of aortic stenosis. We'll read what are those signs, but should know what is the differentiating feature between aortic stenosis and hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is the arterial pulse is jerky. Sudden death typically occurs during or after vigorous exercise and is thought to be due to ventricular arrhythmia. Okay, so this is, like we discussed, the hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is the most common cause of sudden death in young athletes, and this is your MCQ point. Then we told about jerky pulse. So how can we treat this jerky pulse? This jerky pulse is a sign of ventricular outflow tract obstruction. Okay, and how can we decrease it? By reducing the venous return, inotropes and vasodilators, sublingual nitrate. Okay, augments means to increase. Then we have other signs. We have palpable left ventricular hypertrophy, double impulse at the apex. What happens is with the ventricles, atria also become hypertrophied. So whenever atria contracts and pushes the blood to the ventricle in the systolic phase, atrial systolic phase, that can cause a S4 sound. So two beats will be seen, one relating to the S2 and one relating to S4. Mid-systolic murmur at the base, same, we can use inotropes, vasodilators. We can have pansystolic murmur. Okay, mid-systolic murmur at the base and pansystolic murmurs. So what is the risk factor for sudden death? That the heart was previously into arrest or sustained ventricular tachycardia is there. Recurrent syncope, family history, exercise use induced hypotension we read. Okay, then ventricular tachycardia, non-sustained ventricular tachycardia, and ambulatory ECG monitoring, and increased left ventricular wall thickness. So investigation will do echocardiography, it is diagnostic. Management will give beta blockers, calcium channel blockers and disopyramide, to relieve the symptoms and to prevent syncope attack. Arrhythmias can be also treated with amiodarone. Now what happens is, even though if the pharmacological treatment is not improving the prognosis, what we'll do, we will cut out the part that is hypertrophied. Okay, so we'll cut out the part by hypertrophy. We can do it by surgical. This is called as mectomy. This is partial surgical resection. And other is a catheter delivered alcohol solution. So we'll use the catheter and kill the part of hypertrophied ventricle that is not required. Okay, so this is iatrogenic infarction. Then we have arrhythmogenic ventricular cardiomyopathy. ठीक है, if this affects the myocardium of the right ventricle. We saw in this now, this is what I'm talking about, that right ventricle is affected, it is dilated. It is also autosomal dominant. ठीक है, it is characterized by replacement of the right ventricular myocardium with fibrosis and fatty tissue. Okay, so if you replace a stretchable tissue by a non-stretchable tissue, the compliance will also decrease. Okay, and this new tissue, this fibrous fatty tissue, won't be as contractile as the heart. It won't be contractile at all. So now heart can also not pump the blood. The dominant problems are your ventricular arrhythmia, sudden death, and right-sided cardiac failure. Okay, ECG will show broadened QRS complex because ventricle is affected. Inverted T waves. MRI can also be used. Management is to treat the right-sided heart failure with diuretics and cardiac arrhythmias with a beta blocker. And people who have high risk of sudden death, they can have your implantable defibrillator. Okay. Then we have restrictive cardiomyopathy. This is rare. Okay. And then this what happens ki ventricles, all of the ventricles become stiff. Amyloidosis is a very common cause in UK. Then diagnosis is difficult, so we will require to do Doppler, echocardiography, CT, MRI, and we can also do the biopsy. Treatment is again symptomatic, but the prognosis is poor and transplantation is indicated. Then we have obliterative cardiomyopathy. Okay, so it is again a very rare form where the restrictive cardiomyopathy is involving one or both the ventricles. So there will be thrombosis, fibrosis, and slowly the ventricle cavity will be filled with fibrous tissue. Okay, so this is that, and the tricuspid and mitral valve will become regurgitant. Then there will be heart failure, pulmonary and systemic embolism will be a prominent feature. This is can be seen in Churg-Strauss syndrome. You should know that Churg-Strauss syndrome has been named the change to eosinophilic granulomatous with polyangiitis. Anticoagulation and antiplatelet therapy can be used. We saw that thrombus was forming. So diuretic, and we can also use diuretics to relieve the symptoms of heart failure. Then we have Takotsubo cardiomyopathy. Okay, so in this what will happen, that left ventricle is dysfunctioning. Okay, there's acute onset, left ventricle is dysfunctioning, and what is characterized by, first is the left ventricular apex and the myocardium dilation and impairment of the left ventricular function. Okay, so we have these two things, that it is acute in onset and there is dilation of the left ventricular apex and adjacent myocardium. Okay, it is associated, it can precipitate in acute environment like emotional stress. Okay, and how does it present? With chest pain, breathlessness, and sometimes heart failure. It is more frequently seen in women. Condition also mimics STEMI, ST elevation, acute coronary syndrome. So we will do the echocardiography and we will find apical ballooning of the left ventricle. The dilated apex and narrow outflow of this left ventricle resembles the Japanese octopus Tokotsubo. Therefore, its name is Takotsubo. So you can see they have shown in Takotsubo there is dilation of the left ventricle and mainly the apex and the surrounding myocardium. These are the reasons, specific diseases of heart muscles. Now when we talk about Takotsubo, in this left ventricular dysfunction, it will recover within 4 to 5 days. Treatment is beta blockers to prevent arrhythmia, ACE inhibitors to treat left ventricular dysfunction, and they have to be continued. These drugs have to be continued till the cardiac function has recovered. Then we have cardiac tumors. They are rare. Mostly they are benign, and majority, if they are, then we have myxoma. So atrial myxoma is common. Okay, so it most commonly arises in the left atrium. Okay, left atrium, and there will be multiple or single polypoid tumors that is attached to the interatrial septum with the pedicle. Okay, so first sound is usually loud and there is murmur of mitral regurgitation with variable diastolic sound. Tumor pop. Plop. What happens is कि there is a valve, and in valve there is this stalk or this polypoid tumor will come and try to close it whenever there be blood flow. Okay, so whenever there is a tumor plops or covers the valve, the opening in the valve, that can cause a systolic murmur. ठीक है, and it is seen in mitral valve regurgitation. So the first sound will be loud, but when the mitral valve will close because it has regurgitated and the tumor has blocked it, therefore we can have a tumor plop sound or diastolic murmur. ठीक है, treatment is surgical excision. Then we come to the diseases of pericardium. Okay, so 50 ml of fluid is similar with lymph and lubricates the heart. The pericardium limits the distension and contributes to the hemodynamic interdependence of the ventricle and acts as a barrier to infection. So simple है, we have 50 ml blood pericardial sac. Okay, so it will limit the distension of heart. Okay, and it contributes to मतलब कि the ventricles be interdependent on each other. Why? Because when right ventricle will fill, left ventricle will have less space to fill. Because they are sharing the same space, they have to be interdependent on each other, and they are the pericardium itself acts as a barrier to the infection also. Pathogenesis, first we go to acute pericarditis. Pathogenesis है कि all the pericarditis may produce a pericardial effusion depending on etiology. Now this effusion can be what? It can be fibrinous, serous, hemorrhagic and purulent. Okay, a fibrinous exudate, okay, will form adhesions. ठीक है, serous will form it will be a straw colored fluid with high protein. Then it can be hemorrhagic. Okay, and hemorrhagic is basically a sign of malignant disease, that it will be a carcinoma of breast, bronchus and lymphoma. And purulent is very rare and is seen as a complication of sepsis. Then we have clinical features. The chest pain will be retrosternal, radiating to the shoulder and the neck, and it is aggravated by deep breathing, change in position, exercise and swallowing. ठीक है, so why movement? Because there will be gravity. Okay, when you lay down, all of the fluid will accumulate in the dorsal region. When you stand, it will accumulate in the lower region. Okay, then causes of pericarditis, we can have same infection, inflammatory, autoimmune, others. Okay, then we have friction rub. So the friction rub will be heard and it will be high pitched. Okay, as if the two cardiums are moving along each other. Superficial scratching and crunching noise are there because the movement of inflamed pericardium, and this is diagnostic of pericarditis. Okay, so we can also hear this it is this crunching noise. Okay, this crunching noise is heard during the systole and it is to and fro quality. Then we have investigation, ST elevation with upward concavity. It's here. You can see this. This is PQR and this T. You can see the segment, ST segment has turned upwards and it is concave. It affects the area. Now PR depression is also seen and it is a good indicator. Okay, and there may be T wave inversion if there is a degree of myocarditis. So this is that. Now you will see this is lead 2. You can see there is P, then you can see there is a line that is going downwards. This is PR depression. This is a PR interval depression, and we can also have, as you can see, inverted T wave. It may be there, but it depends on the degree of myocarditis. Then we come to the management. So we'll give aspirin. Okay, aspirin 600 milligrams 6 times per day, and we can give, but a most potent anti-inflammatory agent may also be required, that is indomethacin. ठीक है. Viral pericarditis, what happens is it recovers in few days or weeks, but they can recur. If they recur, this is chronic relapsing pericarditis. Purulent pericarditis require treatment with antimicrobial therapy because it is septic in origin. Pericardiocentesis मतलब कि we have to drain the fluid from the myocardium. So this is it. Then we have pericardial effusion. So it also accompanies pericarditis. First will be the pericarditis, then is the myocardial effusion. What will be the clinical features? Heart sounds may become quieter and friction rub that was present will decrease in intensity but not abolished. So above we were having a diagnostic criteria that there will be a sound, there will be crunching or sound or movement of the inflamed pericardium, and this is of to and fro quality, and it occurs during the systole. Okay. Then we have clinical features. We saw that all the heart sounds will decrease now because the fluid has come between the myocardium and the remaining layers. Now there won't be as so much of dragging around each other. Okay, so larger effusions may be accompanied by a sensation of retrosternal oppression. You will feel as if your chest is being tightly held. Okay, then it can cause cardiac tamponade. This term is, what is cardiac tamponade? This is the term to describe acute heart failure due to compression of heart. That the heart is now compressed so much that it has led to acute heart failure. That is a cardiac tamponade. What will you see? All the venous signs. That we have blood accumulating in SVC, IVC, and then it will be raised regular venous pressure, hypotension, pulsus paradoxus, and oligouria. Then we have investigations. So echocardiography is definitive investigation. Now we above also discussed that we have a crunching sound that has to or fro motion. Okay, but now we will read about something that is electrical alternance. What is electrical alternance? That the QRS complex will alternate in amplitude. Some will be very small, some will be very big, and due to and fro motion of the heart within the fluid filled pericardial sacs. This is known as electrical alternance, and this is in on ECG. We can do a X-ray. Okay, in X-ray it will show a globular appearance. Aspiration of the fluid can be done. It is also done for diagnostic purpose to know what is actually inside there. Is it pus? Is it fibrinous? Is it purulent? Management क्या है कि will aspire this effusion, and what we do do pericardiocentesis, and how it do it, that will take a needle and with the guide of echocardiogram will insert the needle that is just below the xiphoid process, and it is directed towards the left shoulder. Okay, so this is pericardial effusion. You can see this is the left ventricle, and these arrows, these are your pleural effusion. Okay, now pericardial drain may also provide symptomatic relief. What happens in pericardial effusion, if you take out little bit of a fluid also, the relief is very much. Okay, then complications of pericardiocentesis, because you are inserting a needle, it can cause arrhythmia if it touches the SA node, AV node. It can damage the coronary artery, it can cause bleeding, and it can also increase tamponade. Tamponade means there is more of an injury to the ventricle. When tamponade is due to cardiac rupture or aortic dissection, pericardial aspiration may precipitate it further by causing an injury. Okay, so what we'll do, we will take the patient immediately for a surgery, and that is a treatment of choice. Then we have tuberculous pericarditis. So in Africa it is most commonly seen with AIDS. How it presents? How TB presents? Chronic malaise, weight loss, and low grade fever. Now the pericardium will become thick, unyielding, and lead to pericardial constriction or tamponade. Okay, the treatment is same. Your ATT, anti-tuberculosis chemotherapy, 3 month course of prednisolone.